So as we know, this idiot is completely destroying the economy. And whether it's intentional or whether it's just because he's an incompetent buffoon or a combination of the two, I'm not exactly sure. I've talked about reasons why he may intentionally be destroying the economy as he is intentionally destroying the foundations of this republic. But he also is without question a complete and utter fool who has no idea how anything actually works. So it might be just gross incompetence, but whatever. He is destroying everything. He is a human wrecking ball. And one of the things I'm watching closely in all of this is what he does with respect to the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, because he's been talking about firing this guy for a long time. I think even, before the election, during the campaign, he was talking about firing him. And I have some thoughts on that. I know a lot of people are expecting him to fire Powell, and I was expecting him to fire Powell, but I'm not so sure. Who can predict what this idiot's going to do? But there are reasons, pro and con, from his point of view, I think, why he would fire him and also why he might want to keep him. But let me read you a post that this colossal buffoon posted to Truth Social yesterday. He wrote, in quotes and capitalized, "Preemptive cuts in interest rates are also capitalized, are being called for by many, with energy costs," capitalized, "way down, food prices, including Biden's egg disaster," exclamation point, "substantially lower." I've never seen anyone use punctuation in the middle of a sentence. It's clearly not the end of the sentence. It keeps going after the exclamation point. Far and away the dumbest man ever to be president. You wouldn't hire this fool for anything. And yet the American people made this guy, what's with these bugs? Made this guy president. Continuing. Biden's food prices substantially lower, and most other things trending down. Things is in quotes, but not capitalized. Not exactly sure what the significance of that is, but it must have some meaning in this moron's brain. And most other things trending down. There is virtually no inflation, capitalized. With these costs trending so nicely downward, and by the way, this guy, largely because it has worked for him, he thinks that he can just, whatever he say becomes reality. So as we know, everything he says here about the prices of everything coming down, inflation coming down, this is all literally the opposite of reality. That he thinks that he can just say whatever he wants and that will become the truth. And to a large extent, it works for him, at least with, the morons in his cult and the fools who watch Fox News. And really, that's all he's worried about. Because as long as he can keep the Fox News audience, and by the way, when I say the Fox News audience, I'm referring to Fox News and Newsmax and OAN. Is OAN still even in existence? I don't know. And them and all the right-wing nutjob podcasts and all of right-wing insane propaganda media. I'm lumping all of that together. Because the truth is, Fox News, if you look at their ratings, they get 3 million in the evening, in prime time for those shows, something along those lines. It's not like everybody in this country watches Fox News, or even everybody who votes for Donald Trump watches Fox News. So when I say Fox News, I really have a deep burning hatred for Fox News, which is why I refer to them in the aggregate as Fox News. Anyway, as long as he can keep that audience believing his bullshit, if he can keep them on his side, then that's all he needs to maintain his grip on power. As long as he has all of those people still kissing his ass and pushing his lies and damn near worshiping him, then he's safe. He maintains his power base. He will maintain his control over the Republican Party, because that is the vote, the primary electorate. That's the Republican primary people. And that's the key to success in the Republican Party. And that's how you keep control of Republicans in Congress. So anyway, to a large extent, these lies work for him, even though no normal people actually believe this nonsense. Anyway, these costs trending so nicely downward, just what I predicted they would do. There can almost be no inflation, but there can be a slowing, all caps this time, so really significant, a slowing of the economy unless Mr. Too Late, a major loser, lowers interest rates now, all caps. Europe has already lowered 7 times, lowered in quotations. Powell has always been too late, quotations, except when it came to the election period, capitalized, when he lowered in order to help sleepy Joe Biden, later Kamala, get elected. How did that work out? So that is our genius president's tweet, whatever, bleat, whatever you call these things. Here's the thing. He's desperate. The reason why he's lying so hard and spinning so hard about these economic indicators, inflation and the price of goods and things, is because he's getting destroyed over this. His poll numbers are dropping like a rock. The billionaire class, the oligarchs who financed his campaign so that they could get everything they want out of him, are not getting what they paid for. Okay, they wanted tax cuts and a cut in regulation. Instead, he's imposed these massive tariffs. He's destroying the economy. They've lost trillions of dollars in wealth in just a couple of weeks from these tariffs. They're not happy. The phones in the White House are probably ringing off the hook from these people. So this guy is desperate. He wants to blame somebody. All right. And so Jerome Powell he's setting him up to be the scapegoat. Now, we know he wants to fire Powell. Absolutely, he wants to. And maybe he will. I don't know. I can't predict this lunatic. Maybe he will. But the problem, and I think why he might not fire him, is number one, you have Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, who is as close to an adult in that administration as you can get, although I wouldn't go that far in calling him that. He's still part of this cult. But he is as close to a normal thinking, rational person as you can get. And I'm sure, if I had to guess, that he is pleading with Trump not to fire Powell. As you know, presidents aren't supposed to be able to fire the chairman of the Federal Reserve. And if he does fire him, Powell has already said he will not go anywhere, that he doesn't believe Trump has the authority to fire him, and that even if Trump fires him, he won't leave. At which point, what will Trump do? Will he have him forcibly removed? Will he prevent his return to the office, physically prevent it? Will he, confiscate his computers and all that stuff? I don't know. If he fires him, maybe we'll find out. And then that might be litigated in court if Jerome Powell challenges it. And I don't want to get too far down this road because it's not the point. But if that does get challenged, the constitutionality and legality of that firing, if that gets its way up to the Supreme Court, my guess is that they will uphold that firing, because there are only 3 branches of government. There are no independent agencies. I know we like to talk about independent agencies, but that's not an actual constitutional thing. There is no such thing. Every part of the government has to fall in one of those 3 branches. And the Federal Reserve falls within the executive branch. And the question will be, can Congress create a statute creating a position within the executive branch that is a political appointee, because the president nominates this person, that a president is unable to fire? And I think that the Supreme Court will most likely rule that Congress cannot constrain a president in that way and prevent him from firing someone within his executive branch, especially if that person is a political appointee. Anyway, so there's that, but we'll talk more about that if we get to that. But here's why he might not want to fire him. One, Scott Bessent, because the markets, the chaos that we've seen so far will continue and get worse if he fires the Fed chairman. The markets are already reacting not only to the bad policy, but also to the chaos. Nobody knows what this lunatic is going to do. And that chaos is destructive in and of itself. And if he fires, essentially illegally, certainly against statutes and customs, to fire this guy, that will really just further the chaos, and you're going to see big problems. And I'm sure Scott Bessent is arguing against that. The other reason, and the more political reason, is because Donald Trump needs someone to blame. He needs someone to blame for everything. He can keep trying to blame this Sleepy Joe stuff. It's not going to work. Nobody's going to go for that. He's been president already for 3 months. He can't blame Sleepy Joe forever. I mean, he can try, but it's not going to work with most people. Yes, it'll work with the morons in his cult, but that's about it. So he needs someone else to blame. He can't blame the media for the economy. Maybe he could try, and maybe the cult will buy it somehow, because they're idiots. But he really needs someone that actually makes sense to try to blame. And so he's going to try to blame the Fed chairman, which he's doing here. But if he fires him, he can't blame him anymore. And then he nominates someone else. Well, that's your guy. Of course, Powell's his guy, too. I believe he nominated Powell in his first term. Anyway, so he needs him. If he stays in place, then he can keep blaming him for everything. And then, Trump has already created a problem for himself. If he had just come into office and did nothing, just went golfing, maybe just did his revenge tour, maybe just ordered his DOJ to go after all his perceived political enemies, do all the authoritarian shit, but leave the economy completely alone. Just spend your time golfing and calling in, orders to destroy people to Pam Bondi from your golf cart. If he had just done that, the economy would be improving. It would be better today than it was when he took office, because we were on an upward trajectory. If he had just done nothing, things would be going well. But he came in and did so much with these tariffs, he now owns the economy. And I even saw a recent poll asking who is most responsible for the state of the economy now. And Trump overwhelmingly, even among Republicans. People said Trump is responsible for the state of the economy because he did so much to exert his control over it. So after doing that, after imposing all these tariffs, it's very difficult. Now, again, might work with the idiots who sit there hour after hour watching Fox News, but it's not going to work with anyone else. He owns this economy now. And so the only way he could try to shift blame is to Jerome Powell. Not that I think that's going to be terribly successful either. But if he fires him, then he doesn't have someone to blame for everything in the economy. So that's why I think those are some reasons why he might not actually fire him, though who the hell knows. Maybe Scott Bessent convinces him not to fire anyone. He agrees not to fire Powell. He agrees not to fire Powell, but then turns on Fox News and something pisses him off, or he reads something on Truth Social, or he has a bad dream, or whatever, and he just wakes up and picks up his phone and fires him on Truth Social. I mean, so who the hell knows? Nobody knows what this lunatic is going to do, which is part of the problem. That's part of the chaos. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that. And continuing with the chaos, you're following this Hegseth stuff. There's more on these unsecure chats about classified information over Signal. We got that going on. We got people resigning en masse because of his incompetence and his corruption. He's firing people. There's a war inside the DOD. Now they're talking. Over the weekend on the Sunday shows, he sent his people out there or Trump did, to like really defend Hegseth. He has his press idiot secretary, what's her face, Levitt, there's no way. This is all, the phony media making up all this stuff. And what I've found with these people is the more strongly they defend someone who's under fire in the administration, the more likely it is that person's about to get fired. So when I saw how strongly they were coming out in his defense, my first thought was, that's the best sign yet that Hegseth is about to get get fired. But who knows? I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does get fired. I mean, the guy, talk about incompetent. Anyway, that's just something to keep your eye on. I mean, this administration, this regime, this illegal criminal Trump regime, illegal because of the 14th, which we've talked about many times, 14th Amendment, Section 3, this man isn't even qualified to be president for having engaged in insurrection. But anyway, so we have this illegal criminal Trump regime that is incompetent from top to bottom. And this is the chaos that you get as a result. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.